Good afternoon, David Hartman, owner of Fantastic Endeavors Travel Agency. Welcome to the Enjoy the Journey Luxury Travel Show. Today's topic is where can I travel unvaccinated? Thanks for you joining me today. Very brief update because it's all about being vaccinated about travel, but where can you travel if you're not vaccinated for whatever reason? If you're new to the show, please like it wherever you're watching it and share it. Really helps us out. And leave a comment, a question, and I'll answer it here live on the air. And subscribe to our Fantastic Endeavors YouTube channel, where all our shows are archived on the Enjoy the Journey playlist. And again, if you're new, we're all about inspirational travel destinations and updating you on where you can travel the world and to have a good time. Also, let me know in the chat where you want to travel to, and I'll answer your question if you're allowed to go there unvaccinated, because there are numerous places to go. So how it's going to work today, before I answer your questions, I'll cover my top 7 places you can visit right now unvaccinated. And there's more places than what you think, although vaccinated travel is preferred. And then I'll answer your questions, and I have some chat questions from before I'll go into about where can I travel when if you're vaccinated. There's a big question mark on cruises. I'll cover that in depth. So what's my number one place to go right now? A place you've always can go during COVID since last March and then some by air. It's Mexico. Mexico has always been wide open for travel, either vaccinated or unvaccinated, no tests required. I sent clients to Los Cabos last August, and happy August 1st, by the way. Happy Sunday to you. Mexico has always been open to travel. Resorts have been open, and that has not changed. Cruise ship travel is a little different. It depends on the port you start in, and I'll talk about that in a second. But Mexico's a wonderful destination. You have all the Cancun. You have Riviera Maya. How about Mexico City? How about the internal part of Mexico? Then obviously you have the Baja Peninsula. You have Los Cabos, one of my favorite areas of Mexico. They are all available to travel, have always been wide open, no changes. They have their own issues with COVID, and there may be some testing requirements to get back to the U.S., which is still part of even being a vaccinated traveler. But Mexico is a phenomenal destination. And as you guys come on board, I want you to please shout out and reach out to me in the comments. Next up, another one is Europe. Most countries in Europe, you can travel unvaccinated. You hear in the news about travel coming up in Europe, opening to vaccinated travel. But note that our vaccines are not made for kids. So there are exceptions already built. So read the fine print. They prefer vaccinated travel. And there are some countries not open to outside travelers yet. But the ones that are open to U.S. travelers, you can travel as an unvaccinated traveler. And I can help you with that. I have friends right now, Rob and Carrie Stewart, who inspired me to do these shows last year, who shout out to me all the time on their shows. And they're in Europe right now, and they're unvaccinated. They had to go through a number of testing requirements and procedures to do this, and they're going on a cruise. Atlas Ocean Voyages is a sponsor of my show. So have fun, guys, on the world premiere voyage of Atlas Ocean Voyages. And they are there unvaccinated, traveling Europe, Greek Isles, Greece, Greek Isles cruise, unvaccinated. It is possible, and they didn't have a major exception to do this. They just follow the protocols in place. Now, with that said, let's talk into the differences. If you are vaccinated, it's easier. I call myself a vaccinated travel expert, but I support both unvaccinated and vaccinated travel because some people either cannot get vaccines, are wary of them, or just do not want to do it, and that's fine. Just note, it is much easier right now, especially internationally and on cruise ships, if you are vaccinated, because that is the trend, and you will have to go through more testing requirements and often pay for more testing requirements and maybe even have a smaller quarantine and also have the return testing back to the U.S., which has not gone away. So yes, is it easy to travel as vaccinated? Yes. But can you still travel unvaccinated? Absolutely. So I want to wake you guys up to the fact that you can still travel. Thank you guys for coming on. I can see you popping on the Facebook and YouTube side. Please put a comment about any question about where do you want to go, and if you are afraid to go or not sure to go if you're unvaccinated. Another one which has been also fairly wide open and then now available on both cruises and from air travel is Caribbean and Bahamas. You can fly there, but also cruises have restarted. As you know, if you watch my live feeds, I was live from Celebrity Edge and did a phenomenal review about that cruise that ended July 3rd, started June 26th. The first cruise ever from the U.S. since shutdown last March of 2020. And that was a Western Caribbean cruise. So Caribbean and Bahamas cruises from U.S. ports are allowed for unvaccinated travelers because that's a rule of the U.S. But in general, cruises say all adults have to be vaccinated. That is just in Alaska. And for most East Coast ports, there's a lot of leeway if you're unvaccinated. So I know I have a client right now. She's not vaccinated. She wants to travel somewhere. I'm like, do a Caribbean cruise. All the Florida ports, you can sail unvaccinated. You have to go through more stringent travel testing requirements, but you can still travel. You may have to do a bubble excursion. You may be required to wear a mask indoors in places, which is pretty flexible. But there are certain things that can be done to get you on the ship to cruise. And you can cruise along with other vaccinated passengers, no problem. A lot of our vaccines are 16 and over. So there are already people cruising as kids or teenagers that are unvaccinated. So it's already happening. And I think even on our cruise, we had a few unvaccinated passengers. So cruises are open. And then flights to most Caribbean countries are open. There are a few small ones that are no longer open to tourists. They're going to come back. But most of them have reopened because it's been a long time. They need the tourism. And you can travel there unvaccinated. The news says, and the main page of their website may say vaccinated travel. But if you look close, you can travel there unvaccinated. I'll go more into some Caribbean countries in a second as I go into the detail of my choices. If you guys got one, please leave in the chat. Love to hear where you want to go or a place you think you can travel unvaccinated, or if you heard that you can't go, and I'll clarify that for you because I'm here today to answer your questions. Hawaii's been the strictest of all of our states about travel. They went into the complete elimination mode versus mitigation. We tried that in the Keys for 2 months. It didn't work too well. We closed off our borders for 2 months, and it didn't matter once we reopened them. Hawaii shut down for a long time. Inter-island travel shut down outside travelers. Now they're back open. Very strict requirements, but because such a strict system is in place, you can travel there unvaccinated. Now, they were doing quarantine. That can be eliminated with a negative COVID test upon arrival, and you take it before. And the Go Hawaii website has a COVID-19 page that is updated daily that you can go to. And I'm a Hawaii travel expert, and I have clients that have been there unvaccinated recently. So that is a great destination that is wide open up for tourism. Tough to get a rental car, by the way, like most places now, but it's an amazing destination that is great to see now as travel is just ramping back up and they're just dying for tourists to come back. But you can travel there and vaccinate them, mostly because they had such an amazing system in place before vaccines were ever implemented. They had opened up before vaccines were out. And so, yes, unvaccinated is easier, but you can travel there unvaccinated and not have to do a quarantine. There are ways around that with the proper testing. So if you're willing to get COVID tests, which are, if you've done one that's a no-brainer, simple nose swab most times, then you can travel unvaccinated pretty much no problem to anywhere, and you'll just get tested more. And if as long as you're negative, you're fine. If you test positive, before it was like a death sentence. Oh, you're quarantined for 14 days, can't leave. Now it's okay, isolate for 24 hours, we'll test you again, because the testing's flawed. We know that. We have many people positive getting tested, and it's not right. Now, with this said, I want to go into the Delta variant. By the way, why is a variant named after Delta Airlines? That's not fair. Just kidding. And then Corona's named after Corona beer, right? Just kidding. Delta variant, we're now seeing that our current vaccines are not as effective, but very effective. They're shown in Israel, which vaccinated the whole country immediately. Kudos to them. That they had no symptoms with their current vaccines. With Delta variant, they're about 70% without symptoms, but no major hospitalizations. So people can still get sick, but not death or major illness from it if they're fully vaccinated 2-dose with the Pfizer Moderna. Johnson & Johnson is still being looked at. With the Delta variant, some things are shifting back they were a few months ago slightly. No one wants to close down again. No one wants to go back to the way we were before. Everyone's done with these things. But there are some things shifting back as far as limiting certain travel from certain countries. I know Florida, we're spiking like crazy because half our state isn't vaccinated. Go figure. So Florida may be restricted from traveling certain places. If you're from here, well, fly out of a different airport. What am I going to tell you? So just note that with this Delta variant, if you're vaccinated, it's also to your advantage to travel, but you can still travel unvaccinated, especially to Hawaii because of the testing protocols they have in place. They give you a roadmap of how to go. Other countries, not so much. Another country, Jamaica. Speaking of the Caribbean, we have the cruises that stop in Jamaica. I had a client go to Jamaica in March, right before vaccines were getting out there, did his test in the U.S., the resort tested him before coming back, and boom, good to go. Jamaica, like Mexico, fairly wide open, not as wide open as Mexico, but fairly wide open to travelers. Great destination, all-inclusive resorts. The Sandals resorts are amazing. Every major brand has a chain there. The West Side's beautiful. Ocharisa's beautiful. Those are the two main resort isles. I highly recommend it. That's a place you can go right now, unvaccinated, really without issue. Simple COVID test. Their tourism website is very straightforward. You do your application to enter the country as a traveler. They give you the protocols in place, what you have to do. You follow them, you're in. Then you're on vacation as normal. The nice thing you don't hear about these places with their restrictions is once you're through this jumping through hoops, it's vacation as normal once you're there, barring any need to quarantine if you have a positive COVID test upon arrival. So even unvaccinated travelers, it is resume as you normally would when on vacation. So ignore the hype, ignore the craziness, and realize that you can travel unvaccinated if you go through the requirements. Again, is it easier vaccinated? I'll give you my vote to get vaccinated because it is much easier, especially on the cruises, but you can travel unvaccinated. And all the places I mentioned so far, it's wildly available for those type of travelers. Want to stay local to home? Don't want to go international? I highly recommend U.S. national parks. They're wonderful. They're not doing any COVID restrictions or requirements to get in. Freely walk in, drive in, fly to a nearest airport and go to one. It's a great time of year. Summer's a great time to travel. Give my vote to U.S. national parks. They need our love. They've had a hard time with the federal government the past two administrations, and they're totally lacking funding. They could use the user entry fees. And I love national parks. We have two of the closest national parks right here, 30 minutes north of me, with Biscayne National Park and Everglades National Park. Those are the two closest national parks in the country as far as side by side. Take advantage of these amazing places because they're national treasures, and please support them if you can. Great place to travel this summer if you want to get out and not worried about any vaccinated traveler restrictions. And last but not least, number 7, Florida and the Florida Keys. Thanks to our governor administration, we've been wide open since October. Give us, you're tired, you're poor, you're infected, no matter what you are, you're allowed. And now that we're spiking here in Florida with the Delta variant because somehow half our population's unvaccinated, he went on the news recently and made it clear there will be no restrictions. I will say that if you're a theme park fan, Orlando theme parks have their own internal restrictions following their local mayor who called them out publicly and tried to embarrass them, which I don't agree with. So now masks are required indoors. Cast members have to wear masks, and all cast members have to get vaccinated, which is an internal company policy the governor can't touch. Good luck with that one. But Florida is wide open. The Keys are wide open. We've had a very nice, busy lobster season here. Caught 7 lobster in the past couple of days. Wednesday, Thursday. And open season's August 5th until March 16th, if you're into that. And it's been kind of slowing down compared to mid-February to, let's say, Mother's Day. And now it's been kind of normal, routine weather. But lobster mini season here, which the last 2 Wednesday and Thursday of the month were crazy. So the Keys appreciate your business, appreciates the tourism, and always come down because we enjoy the business. But we're wide open. Vaccinated or unvaccinated, we don't check. And just keep in mind they put a bit of driving because since we're spiking, your state may not allow you to travel back, which happened to friends of mine in September last year when things were really bad. I believe we're beyond those type of restrictions where if you went somewhere, you had a quarantine if you came home. Ideally, we're beyond that, but who knows? I mean, that was when we didn't know what this whole thing was, and we had no vaccines. The fact there are vaccines helps out all of you out there that are unvaccinated because the high-risk population is protected. And I will give Florida credit. One reason we are very bold about tourism is that first thing they did is really push to get the high-risk population, the older, the sick, the people in nursing homes vaccinated quickly. Then after that, we kind of went off the rails, and me at 51 had a hard time getting vaccinated, but I got it done and went on a cruise because of it. So if your high-risk population, your area is protected, your local government will be more likely to support tourism. That's what's happening now in the countries throughout the world, the ones I mentioned. Why would things spike? Are they confident to allow tourism? Because their high-risk demographic is protected. And this is now coming to be more like a really difficult flu season. The Delta variant is very contagious. That's the current variant of COVID. By the way, if you understand what that means, these viruses do mutate once they're out in the population. They actually feed off us and they change. And this one actually became more infectious. Now they're compared to chickenpox. First it was the measles. Now it's the chickenpox, and we do have no immunity to this. Thankfully, our current vaccines are very effective. So please, please, please get vaccinated if you can. If you believe in that, go out and do it. It will help you. But I did cover today the places you could travel to if you're unvaccinated, just my top few. And I will respond to comments I get in the chat. Thank you all my people out there who put up the pre-questions. Some of you asked about Ireland. Ireland just reopened. I'm supposed to go to Germany. Again, Europe, if they say they're open, you can go there unvaccinated and quarantine if you follow their protocols. So thank you, Tony Baxter. Thank you, Rich Schroeder, for asking about Oktoberfest. We're supposed to go last year to Munich. Supposed to go this year to Munich. We actually changed our trip to October 2022. Then they canceled Oktoberfest, and it turns out they probably could have had it, but there's so much planning involved, they had to pull it. And I will see them next year, October of 22, in late September for Oktoberfest in Munich. I'm very looking forward to that. Appreciate you guys being on. Next up at 6, I'll have my Dave's Disney show about the Star Wars Galactic Cruiser from my Dave's Disney community. If you're not a member of that community, want to be a Disney diehards like us and watch this show, go to my Dave's Disney Facebook page and click on the group button, and I'll enter in that group. This is a private show just for those people who are Disney diehards so we can interact with each other, and inviting you guys to join that group if you are a Disney diehard like us. You guys have a fantastic Sunday. We'll be live next week from Lake Tahoe. Lake Tahoe, my first summer trip to Lake Tahoe to check out the amazing sights and scenes of one of the most beautiful places in the U.S. on the West Coast. And I'm going there vaccinated, but unvaccinated travel is allowed there too. See you guys next week.